Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Christopher and I'm here with John Gallagher, who is an art illustrator, and he was apparently the art illustrator, one of the main art illustrators for Knights of the Old Republic, a video game, the first one, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I was with BioWare from 1995 to 2004, and when we first heard that we were doing a Star Wars game, this is in the middle of doing Baldur's Gate, which was really, for me, my baptism of fire.
Right.
And that's where I really learned to be a true boots-on-the-ground concept artist, and everything from characters to environments. You couldn't afford to specialize, so you had to really learn how to do everything. And when we heard that we were doing a Star Wars game, we had to keep our mouths shut for a year. We weren't allowed to post anything online. Half of us weren't even allowed to talk to our spouses.
Yeah.
Nothing.
So not much has changed that way in regards to Star Wars.
NDA is super deep, super strong, and very vindictive. So we kept our mouths shut, and we made sure that that was on lockdown. And then we started working on the game, and it was clear that we were going to be doing something new and fresh. This was something with very little precedent in terms of visual precedent. There wasn't very much in terms of lore or content to support where we wanted to go. And the good thing about the Star Wars universe is it's mostly open source.
Yeah.
Like if you want to go over here and explore, do some cool stuff, go ahead. As long as it doesn't violate, as we understand it to be, the rules of lore.
Yeah, the universe is so vast and large, so there's many different parts you could explore. So
yeah, and we were very fortunate in that regard that we got to create new material for a universe that we all cherished. I mean, it was fair to say that, if there was one consistent factor, or one consistent element rather, that was right across the board, full spectrum for all the creators that were at BioWare at the time, we're all about the same age, we all drank the same Kool-Aid, and Star Wars was one of the essential food groups in that Kool-Aid. So we all had our ideas, and I was fortunate to work with an incredible team. And in the case of Revan and HK47, they kind of coalesced pretty early.
Right.
And they were keys. They were very clearly going to be keys in the story. So James and I was the primary concept designer on the game. A little bit later, as people became available from other games, they were allowed to move over, but that was kind of like the end of the third act by the time everybody migrated over. So there was myself, and I was doing a lot of the heavy lifting and working directly with our designer. And in the case of something like Revan, I remember it clearly where he said, okay, there's going to be this mysterious, not sure Jedi, not sure Sith, a little ambiguous and cryptic and really largely unknowable.
Right, so you were pretty much given free reign. Like they gave you a description, but they were like, here, create this character for us. And like, did you have a few different concepts that you showed them?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we just had a heritage auction on some of my original artwork from the game a few months back that did very well for us. I don't have the original final drawing of Darth Revan, but I did have some iterations of the character. And we'd gone through, I would say it's fair to say there was a tally of a maximum of 12 to 15 images. And I just drew on a light table, right? So I was just playing with different forms.
Right.
We hadn't finalized color. We did have one, he was pure white. We did go down that road, and it didn't land at all for anybody. But we still, why not try it? You never know.
Right.
It could hit. But I had his form language down after about 5 or 6, where we were like, okay, that's the profile. These are some of the elements we want. And I did 3 or 4 color passes with markers to get the right combination of colors. And Star Wars works within very much a silhouette vector universe.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to recognize a silhouette and a simple pattern from across a room. So we were following that as our kind of metric to ensure that all the characters passed the sniff test and the metric test. And in the case of Revan, he hit early and he stayed.
Yeah.
HK47, I got on the first try. I did no renovation. I did a bunch of assassin droids that weren't HK, and we were exploring those forms so. But HK himself was literally a protocol droid, expanded out the shoulders, built some combat reinforcement in the chassis, and then literally made his head look like a snake.
Yeah.
Just compressed it and made it the wide set eyes. I'm like, that guy looks like a predator.
Yeah.
Like he looks like an apex predator. And we were very fortunate. James was like, yeah, that's him.
Yeah. So as far as the helmet design, because like you could clearly see some inspiration from Boba Fett, Mandalorian. Was that intentional?
It was absolutely intentional. The whole point is you can't. I don't think black box design really plays well in terms of long-term value for a franchise or for any sort of property.
Yeah.
I think it's important that there's a degree of familiarity, even if it's not explicit, it's implied in terms of shape and color and form. I think that really allows people to connect to the character immediately, going, "Oh, Star Wars, I got it."
Yeah.
But they see some new, fresh form in it, and they go, "Oh, this is kind of neat." And you're like, "Yeah, it was from like 5,000 years ago. It's way before." But it's still the way that universe moves and the pace at which it evolves. 5,000 years is nothing. 4,000 years is nothing. So informing it with a little bit of Boba Fett flourish there, a little bit of familiarity, but still cryptic and unknowable.
Yeah.
Because he was the first character that we didn't know anything about.
Mysterious, very mysterious.
He never talked.
Yeah.
Like every so often he'd say something and small. Like, why should I be scared of this guy? And they're like, oh, because he's a badass. But it was one of those cases where we don't know what's happening back there. And Revan, we had no idea what Revan was about. So we just went with what is customarily in the Star Wars universe held to be a standard of mystery.
Right,
And
right.
I think it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, I think you did a fantastic job. Now, one last question for you: the iconic dual sabers, the red and purple. Was that your idea as well? Like, or was that them?
James, that I can't take credit for that. I was the one who kind of whipped up the image of that. But James is like, we have to do something more than a single saber.
Yeah.
And the conversation is very simple. It's like, well, some of our favorite characters are dual wielding. Like Drizzt is a dual wielder.
Yeah.
We were like, oh. And this is before he saw it in Star Wars. Anyway. So, by the way, we led with that. Now you see it everywhere, people throwing sabers and all that kind of shit. But for us, it was just, James is like, yeah, dual wielding. Because he always played duelists in D&D.
Yeah.
And he was a big double duel guy. So that is absolutely his brainchild. And I just threw together a couple of colors.
Yeah.
First time out. So
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, John.
you bet, absolutely. Thanks for hanging in.
Thank you.
Great to meet you.
Yeah, great to meet you.
Have a great day, everyone.